Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still slot chopper. He's not on second and change.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still slot chopper. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
And welcome back to another round of the Premier Endurance League. GT4 head out tonight, going to you live from Zolder. Not the normal racing layout. You might be looking at that last chicane and going, hang on, it's not normally nearly a 45-degree chicane. That's right, we're using the alternate layout because it promotes a little bit better racing. Scotty Rattlegun Rankin behind the commentary booth once again, and JP Parfit. Jimmy, how was your week? It's been a while. It's been a while since we sat here and talked Premier.
It has been a while, wasn't it? Back in March, I think it was, or something. Early March, before we'd last done these ones. But I'm good, mate. I'm just sat here enjoying this. The week's been well. The weather's been rubbish. But then again, I'm in the UK, so there's really no expectations of anything different. And to be honest with you, you know, it's Zolder. Let's see what happens. It's Zolder, and I say that in a way that basically not everybody loves this circuit. Some people definitely do not love the circuit. You know, the Klein chicane becomes a little bit of a pain. The chicane between Butte and turn 7, the top part there is also a bit of a pain. So, yeah, I think overall it's going to be interesting to see how these guys deal with this circuit. It's not one that you can go on without much practice. So I'll be interested to see how this works out, to be fair.
Well, rolling out into the warm-up session at the moment. I can tell you qualifying's been run and won, and we'll talk about those results in a few moments. But in the meantime, it's been a while since anyone but Owen Coleman has led a championship. Daniel Magri leads the way, and it all came down to the fuel save strategies we saw at Aragon. One driver managed to go the distance. Everyone else chasing him fell off the wagon. And we'll have to keep half an eye on whether or not that's going to be the same yet again here tonight. But certainly for the meantime, yeah, fuel's going to be another topic of discussion. The big one for me, I think, JP, tonight, you've got to have yourself a car that is balanced on those change of directions because, 3 chicanes in the lap? She's not easy.
No, she's not, and that's the thing. And you've got long corners. You know, from turn 2 to turn 3, it's that long right-hander. Turn 4 is not an easy corner. Butte from the rundown from the Klein chicane down to turn 7, long looping left-hander. There's a lot of things that these guys are going to have to contend with. You've got a sudden stop at the end of turn 8, making sure you don't send it in the wrong way. You know, Klein chicane, you start going through there too wide. Well, you're going to could end up being terminated. So I think they're going to have to sit back and they're going to really have to use their brains and work out where is going to be the best place to be sending moves, where's going to be the best place to back off and just maybe wait a little bit. You know, a bit of patience could be shown here, and I think that's probably one of the things we're going to have to look out for.
Well, we are getting ready to cross over to the race server as it currently stands tonight. So a little bit of a discussion around your championship standings. I'll walk you through them as it stands. Daniel Magri, like I said, leads the way after finishing second back at Magello and then winning last time out at Motorland Aragon. He managed to clean up the bulk of the points, didn't get a perfect round, did only qualify third, and remember, qualifying nets you points here in the Premier Endurance League, modelled after IMSA points lists. From there, he's 12 points further back is Owen Coleman, sitting in second place, so 732 plays 720. Andrew Dutch sits in third, has a reasonable season going thus far, 682 points. That puts him about 38 points back off Coleman. Significant margin from the lead, though, 50 points exactly. From there, it is a significant margin. It's 89 points back to Nick Wood in third, and that's after only 2 rounds. So if anyone's going to start hunting down those front two, it's got to happen tonight. But I tell you what, it's so good watching Daniel Magri take it to Owen Coleman this season, isn't it, JP?
Yeah, I think that battle will commence. I think the battle's going to continue. You know, we've got 2 gladiators of the series in Magri and Coleman. Dutch not too far away. Nick Wood, Jepson, are they able to get possibly near them? I don't think Jepson is, considering we're on round 3 and he's only got this 1 and 2 more to do it. Can Wood even remotely get near him as well? Well, whatever Wood's going to have to do, he's got to do it now. He's got to start and take the victory here and at the other 2 events to even remotely put himself in with a hunt and with a chance of even getting there. So I think overall, between Coleman, Dutch, Magri, that's probably where the champion's going to come from. Wood, if you want an outside bet, you know, if you want to pick the 201 Grand National winner, might be worth whacking a couple of quid on him, because it's possible that it could be an opportunity. But is it really possible? That's the thing.
I mean, it is. If you pay an assassin to go over to Owen Coleman's place and pull out the plug in his PC every single time one of these races starts up, that might work. It's a valid strategy.
Do they know where Coleman lives? Do they know where Magri lives? I don't know. You know, are they even near each other in the big expansive land of Australia? That's the question. Who knows? I don't know.
Approach a friend, yell at a friend. Go, can you go do this for me? Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of people around the country.
Well, you want to just cut the power cable off? Can you just go around there and chop all electric?
Yeah. Just chop it off at the box, you know, sever the connection. Right. Warm-up session's now been run and is complete as well. So we'll be jumping into our hour race here in just a few moments. And what that finally means is the qualifying standings are capable of being pulled up for the first time this evening, and that is how our starting grid is going to look. Owen Coleman needed to get off on the right foot here tonight, did so by qualifying on the front row, and 30.192, he's 2/10 clear of Andrew Dutch, who'll be off alongside of him, nearly 3/10 clear. From there, it's back to Rain Campbell and Adam Jepson on row number 2. Ray Oliver and Adrian Gretsch are going to make up row number 3. Rick Provenzali qualifies again, 7th for him, alongside of Eli Donaldson, Alfonso Latella, and Richard Mayer on row number 5. Fozzie will start the first car outside the top 10 in 11th. Darren Burgess off alongside of him. Jimmy Middleton and Martin Hallinan will continue to get the elbows out side by side, where they sit on row number 6. From there, we'll throw it back to... Sorry, that was row 7. Back to Simon Smith and Ronald Long, Sam Chapman and Chris Luttrell, before we go back to Stefan Mellis will be the last car to start from this field. 19 in the field here tonight. And I get the feeling, JP, it's Easter weekend. I think a few people are taking breaks and off visiting with family.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. You know, even I was asked by Ricky and Jimmy and said, like, you know, are you doing Easter Sunday? And I was like, dude, to be fair, for me, it's, you know, barely 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to do anything on Easter. You know, you and I both know that it's not really till the afternoon, midday anyway. So it worked out. And I think for some people, it's probably an ideal scenario. But for Jimmy Middleton being in the pits there, starting from pit lane, that's not an ideal scenario for him. I've got to wait till the cars come all the way round on the pace lap.
I reckon he's missed a trick there.
You think?
He might have run off to have his little pre-race pee and not come back in time.
Yeah.
Everyone's got rituals prior to the race at JP, and Jimmy's rituals have prevented him from taking the starting grid.
Probably not an ideal ritual to have, really. Not entirely sure I would like to have that ritual before I start a race by running off and completely missing the start. But I'm sure Jimmy's got his reasons, you know, why he's done what he's done.
Well, we're on our way up to the Klein chicane on the formation lap as it currently stands, and you can see that Andrew Dutch is attempting to put as much heat as he possibly can through those tyres. This is the Klein chicane. She's tough, she's tight, she's tricky, and you're going to bounce over those curbs. One of the big things about that BMW, for anyone that's in the BMW there tonight, we do have a fair few of them within the field. It doesn't like the bumps. The older suspension model on that car is very, very tricky to get settled over chicanes like that, so that can come a cropper. Something to keep half an eye on. Mercedes has got a lot of talk.
Yeah, the interesting thing as well, I'm surprised on the Merc intake due to the fact that obviously how much lies curbs, and with the back end being wanting to come and join you at the front, should we say. It's a bit of a tough choice, I think, for Sam. I think, you know, the Porsche or the BMW may have been my choice. Maybe not the Merc so much at this tricky circuit, but then again, I'm nowhere near the skill level of these guys in general, Scotty. So, you know, for me, it probably is best that I'd probably stay out of it.
You know what, there's another event that was worth note on the calendar for Australian real-world racing this weekend, which has just finished up a couple of hours ago. It was the Bathurst 6 Hour, which is production car racing, so pretty much everything underneath the GT4 is how you kick it off. Jimmy Middleton just got in my ear as we go lights out, and away we go on the run down to turn number 1, and says, accidental grid miss, put me on the grid, then remove me, 1 lap of fuel saved. And he's looking at all the bright sides. He's also avoiding the carnage. So it's going to be Coleman from Dutch on the run down to turn number 1. Campbell goes around the outside of Jepson. I heard contact in the background. Ray Oliver is the car that's spinning. Although I think there's another SLM car that's backwards as well. It's Darren Burgess. Both of the SLM cars facing in the wrong direction. Yeah, both of them having contact together there. We're going to have a quick look at how this all became about. As you can see in the mid-pack, there's going to be contact. The BMW just loses it, then gets spun the other way by the Merc, then get pushed into it. And then, unfortunately, the other one from Darren Burgess has already gone round. I think Burgess went off the side of the circuit, and that is what caused his main problem as we get this start up and running. He just gets a little bit loose again, the same, to be fair, as the other BMW did, and both BMWs losing their back end on turn 1. By the way, there's more kicked off. Rain Campbell and Ray Oliver are both backwards at the first chicane, and there's even more that's kicked on as a part of that one. So Campbell went around on his own as they got to the Klein chicane on cold tyres, and will just get collected by Oliver. He bounced the curb, and unfortunately didn't have anywhere to go. Once you unsettle a car, you're in trouble, and there's a Merc going a little bit squirrely. No, dude. No. And that was Ray Oliver that made contact with him. That rejoined something. Oh, another BMW going around. The teller. BMWs are not having a good time here. Getting on the power far too early with your tyres. It's just not settled enough. Hold your brakes. Hold your... Not much he could have done.
But
Remember, they've got ABS on.
yeah, but that's the thing. BMW's cold tyres clearly are not loving what's going on at the moment, and unfortunately, we've seen the people that have spun are BMWs. Ray Oliver, Alfonso Latella, and Darren Burgess are all in BMWs. And unfortunately, I thought it was the Mercs going to be going around as the BMW was a stable one, but clearly I got that completely picked on.
Well, do you know the only BMW that hasn't gone for a loop thus far?
Provenzali, unfortunately.
Yeah, Provenzali.
Yeah. Oh, dear me, don't want to give Ricky too much credit, but yeah, he is the only one that hasn't gone around in that BMW as well. Simon Joe Smith in the Merc got caught up in that incident at the beginning as well, I believe, with Rain Campbell taking it a little bit easier. He's at the back here, battling away with Darren Burgess, Martin Howland in the middle, Chapman Long and Mellis, who's made up 7 places already off the start, and has probably not had to overtake many people in the process.
That'd be Ruddle, I think, might have gone around. Burgess definitely went around. Smith, Middleton started from the lane, so... Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Could you imagine, though, for Jimmy Middleton, if starting from the pit lane and not having to put in all that fuel in the formation lap ends up getting him like 10 spots because he doesn't need to perform an extra pit stop?
Well, unfortunately, at the moment, the timing software is showing him as a lap down. So regardless whether or not he thinks he's going to be gaining fuel, he's not at the moment because he's the lap behind everybody else. So currently, Jimmy Middleton is a lap down, regardless of what he thinks is going to happen. It just generally isn't going to happen because he's showing as was showing as a lap down. Maybe he's kicked back in now. There we go. It looks like he has just come back on to the lead lap, which was a bizarre moment for him, as he was at one point blue and a lap behind everybody else. But now he seems to be back on the lead lap again.
I think he's normally blue in the face from pushing too hard. So at least that checks out.
Maybe. Let's go fun, said the incompetents in YouTube chat. Trent and Naylor, okay, let's go. I'm going, we're going. And these guys continue to battle Coleman and Dutch, and both in the Merc, both doing a good job. Gretsch, Donaldson, Provenzali there in that 4th, 5th, 6th spot, battling away quite nicely. So yeah, some interesting racing happening early on.
Yeah, and now they'll try and settle themselves down a bit. That's an interesting comment that comes from the incompetents. It's let's go Fonz, and Alfonso Latella is already out of the race, so...
Yeah, a bit of a bad moment to be posting that comment, wasn't it, really? Oh, guys, you're on a straight!
Oh!
You're on a straight! Oh, my... Gee whiz, what is going on along with Burgess? They're banging each other on the straight. I don't get that. Christopher Ruddle looks like he's had a bit of a poor ta-ta-ta moment. And that's Jimmy behind. And Ruddle, as he's coming down into 6 and 7, goes round. And Jimmy just manages to get round him. So well done to Jim for avoiding that one. But Dutch and Coleman still scrapping it out at the front.
Yeah, and Dutch has actually come back to him a little bit, so I wonder whether or not Coleman's fuel saving just a touch right there. Last lap by Adam Jepson was actually impressively quick. So right here in the middle of the sector is where Dutch is a fraction slower. Slow and tight. She came very difficult to go too wide through there, and it's a very narrow track around here at Zolder as well. Difficult to get an overtake done. Difficult to get the car wound up. He got no drive off of that chicane as well. No balance through the middle sector, but he's really, really strong under the brakes, whereas Coleman's not necessarily all that strong on brakes, which makes me think he is lifting and trying to save a little bit of fuel. So this race could be very much under a pace question mark of they're already starting to bank on whatever fuel they can save.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do that early on. The reason when they're doing that, obviously, for everybody else is they're on 45% fuel. So I think they're trying to maintain the lowest fuel consumption they possibly can. But it's also going to be difficult to try and do that successfully. And we've touched on it before, that the best fuel savers are the ones that can do it successfully. And it's not an easy job to fuel save and be quick. And that's the thing. Mellis and Burgess are running side by side on their way around turn 2 and 3. They've swapped positions about 3 times already. and are continually going at each other here. Bellis now losing that place, unfortunately putting him into the hands of Ronald Long. Eli Donaldson has got Mr. Ricky Provenzali up his exhaust pipe for company.
It's never a feeling of safety and security. Might have to start calling him Ricky the Roadblock if he's been going to Jimmy Middleton's School of Driving.
Well, he's up 3 places for quali. It's just good to see him qualify, to be honest.
Yeah, starting nearer the front, give himself an opportunity. By the way, have you had an opportunity to check out the rear bumper of Jimmy Middleton's car yet? There's another message for you.
I have not, no. What? No podcast? Jimmy, I've time has not been of my essence over the last month or so. It's been a bit of a manic one. So I will try and get back with Craig Jones and we'll get a podcast back on the go. I'm sure there's a lot more we can talk about as well. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get together and sort it out eventually.
Yeah, so incident which was, I believe, Alfonso Latella has just come in to...
He's just got off the pits.
Oh, somebody off the track right there.
That was Latella. Latella's just got off the side of the circuit going down turn 1. Unfortunately, you recognise Latella's car. He's got the bonsai liveried flag almost on the top of the red and white on that Porsche. So,
Melis. That's Melis.
Sorry, Melis. Yeah, Latella's out. Has been out for a while.
Yeah, he is. But the race control just reviewed that incident where we were talking early on about Latella's car backing across the track, and they came to the same conclusion we did. ABS kicked in.
Be interesting to see we'll come back on the Rain Campbell rejoin. We haven't heard anything back from that one, but the Rain Campbell rejoin would be interesting. Aaron Burgess has just cleared Sam Chapman. Eli Donaldson is still trying to hold on from Mr. Provenzali there, who is trying to do a great job to get past him. So Eli there going to have to try and defend like a trooper as Ricky's in his BMW and he's coming very quickly.
Ricky's starting to settle in, make that ground. We'll see if he can get a touch closer on Eli Donaldson. Actually, the cars that are up ahead is actually Ray Oliver's in the middle of this, and he's a lap down at this point in time after that incident in lap number 1. Ripped, I believe it was his left front off that car, so managed to get the car back out and circulating. But it will be for minor points at this point in time, and he's got a problem as well of trying to navigate through the traffic. Because on pace, this is approximately where Ray Oliver should be, in theory. So, Alfonso Latella's finally just dropped, so we finally got an update on what's happened to Alfonso Latella. Packet loss has finally kicked in, and so apparently he was blinking, but enough that it was maintaining his connection in the server, but it wasn't timing and scoring. It was getting no timing and scoring on that car, so... what does happen is if you're not connected to the server as you cross the start-finish line, you can be circulating, but it won't count as laps complete.
Bit of a shame, but it happens, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it happens to the best of us, and it happens to probably all of us, as Provenzali got a very slow run out there, and Foz has just got him going on the run down into turn 8. Provenzali did not get the chicane or the double right-hander of turn 7 right, and unfortunately now it's put him behind Foz, who is there in that Porsche, of course. Joel Smith and Latella still trying to battle out. Jimmy still trying to join on to the back of the pack. The only good thing, as you say, would be his fuel, and then be able to, well, hopefully make up some positions in the pit stop phase, which we definitely know is coming.
Tell you what, Rain Campbell's got some speed. It's currently the only car to have set a 1 minute 30 lap time out of everyone with full fuel on as it currently exists. Andrew Dutch has just set his fastest lap of the race with a 1:32.31.219. Middleton just set his fastest lap of the race, 32.141. And good to see Fozzie get the elbows out as well. And update on what happened to Rick Provenzali on that last lap was a slowdown penalty. So every chicane around here has the opportunity to give yourself a slowdown penalty, and Mark Foster was just giving himself a slowdown penalty for sure. I
would be very surprised.
As did Provenzali, they both did.
Yep, they both got it there. They both double jumped the chicane. We'll see when all of a sudden they're going to have to sudden stop, I would have thought. It's interesting with Provisali. He's trying to hold on.
They both cleared their slowdown penalties already, and then Sam Chapman's also got one from the Klein chicane on the current lap as well. So Klein chicane triggers 3 separate slowdown penalties on the current lap.
Already.
Now Ronald Long is going to zero in on the back of him, and Jimmy Middleton adds another slowdown penalty to the mix.
Yeah, they've got to be careful. Turn 5 and the Klein chicane, sorry, and the 6-7 chicane is not easy. And if they go over it double-wheeled, it's going to be slowdown after slowdown after slowdown. And Richard Mayer...
Oh, Provençali got another one.
Yeah, and that's the problem. When you're taking too much of something, it's always going to have a detrimental effect to you. He just can't continue to take the chicanes like he is. He's got to give them a little bit more of a wider berth, because it's going to come back and bite you in the bum.
Yeah. In the meantime, Eli Donaldson's been allowed through by Ray Oliver, so it gets the laps car out of the way. And Gretsch is now starting to close in on Jepson as well. And I'm assuming this is the slowdown penalty for Provençali.
Yeah, I was just wanting to see how he went through it the second time, and he completely did it in a different way. Now that's going to be, the Porsche is going to probably get one there as well, because he's gone and double jumped the whole blinking thing. You know, that's how you should take it. Just with your tyres off to the left, and make sure that you're not in that area where you're going to come and get yourself trouble. Sam Chapman, if he did get one, has done a good job getting it off so he doesn't lose any positions. Don't get me wrong, I'm the worst one at taking off slowdowns. I don't even slow down. I get to a short corner that I know I can take slowly, and I will back everybody up behind me to get rid of the slowdown, which is not great sporting etiquette. I know you do that. Please don't slate me for that one. But come on, let's be real. Everybody does it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's a good point as well that Greg Brooks has actually just made. Yeah, slowdown penalties are quite common, and think about the GT3s. I mean, bigger and wider and faster cars, but they are a little bit more settled over those curbs. They stabilize a lot quicker. It's tough because you want that stiffer suspension to stabilize the car quicker, but at the same time, softer suspension will help you handle the curbs. I mean, stiff is going to give you more grip, but yeah, you're still going to be able to ride the curbs. So you got to run that real balance as well. There's a couple of really long loaded corners, not Spa-esque loaded corners, but turn 2 through to 4.
Fuzz has just done it. Fuzz just literally missed the chicane. Ricky, it wasn't Ricky. It was there was another one in front of these guys in the mix here. Who was that at the back? Was that the BMW of Oliver at the back? He would have copped one.
Yeah.
You know, and Fuzz would have copped one. And you cannot. If we look at the 17th place man of Rain Campbell, who's got a very beat up car, but then again, he did rejoin right in the middle of traffic, and unfortunately, that was the end of the result. You've got to go through the chicane, but get your inside wheels on the tarmac on the exit like that. Cannot jump it with all 4 wheels. It is not the bus stop at Watkins Glen. It's not one of them where you get as close to the wall and hope you make it through. No, it will punish you. You know, I found that out in trucks last week where they stuck it on Kota and then didn't give me the truck off tracks. I ended up with about 13 off tracks after 1 lap because it was just ridiculous. You know, you've got to respect the track layout and the off tracks that you get, and this is one of these things these guys are going to learn as they go into the next 44 minutes.
I think one of the key factors that you're sort of touching on there as well is how good truck racing is when you get to use, or just NASCAR racing in general, when you get to use like all of the options in the off tracks. Anyway, different discussion for a different day, as the difficulties of Ray Oliver continue to mount, and yep, Eli Donaldson's starting to really apply the afterburners to Adrian Gretsch at the moment, but he's getting held up a touch by Jepson. It's sort of seesawing, and the other problem for Ray Oliver is that he's a lapped car in all of this, and he's already been warned by race control, and he's going to have another go. Lapped traffic, and Donaldson's really trying to tell him no. If you could please bugger off and get out of my race, that would be great, because this is a battle for 3rd place he's now interrupting.
I would be doing that as well. I would be doing probably a lot more than what Donaldson is doing to Ray Oliver at the moment. Ray might have pace, which is, fair point. Go for it. But when you're getting in the way, it brings a different taste to your mouth.
Here's the thing. He's never... The key factor for Ray is that he's not quick enough to catch up and overtake Owen Coleman and Andrew Dutch. And Coleman, by the way, is just that fastest lap of the race. So he's trying to skitter away into the sunset. But that's the key factor. I mean, if he can overtake everyone, sure. Otherwise, sit there and fuel save. The only way you're getting back into this if you're in Ray Oliver's shoes is to save a gigantic amount of fuel and clobber all these guys into the pit stops, and you just have to let their battle on go, and you can't get involved.
Yeah.
There are two ways you get back into this race. One of them is a safety car. The other one's driving your way to the front. He's not quick enough to drive his way to the front. Instead, he's just going to be in the way.
Oh, well, now he's completely out of the way because he's just gone off the side of the circuit. The problem is now
Good riddance.
is he going to pop in front of Richard Meyer and Mark Foster with Ricky a further 1.3 seconds back? That's the question. Jepson's trying to hold on to Gretsch here. Gretsch is trying to push Jepson as quickly as possible because they know there's now 2.3 to the guys in front. So they've got to get on their bike a little bit before we end up with quite a few gaps appearing throughout the field.
You know the one thing that really annoys me is that Ray Oliver jumping in the middle of that has actually cost Eli Donaldson probably about a second. And now he's no longer in the slipstream of the cars ahead. He's really broken up that battle.
And people wonder why I rant about blue flags like I do.
It's poor. It's just poor sportsmanship. You just gotta recognize. Yes, something's happened to me. Yes, my race is over. What's the best way that I can look after everyone around me? And that's not using your head.
No, I just would have sat there and pushed him. Used him to get yourself in the mix. You're sitting up that area. If the leaders are going to pit, you're going to gain your lap back. So I would have just sat there and fuel saved as much as possible to be able to gain that lap back when it comes to the pit stop cycle. But overtaking and getting involved, it's cost the person that was in that battle for the top three, 1.5 seconds. So
someone's just jumped in and said, I mean, unlike real world racing, you can overtake to get your lap back, but Oliver's not quick enough. He's never. The problem is to get Ray Oliver to get his lap back, he's got to overtake Andrew Dutch and Owen Coleman, and they're too quick. It'll never happen. Forget it. So instead of comparing, what he's comparing his lap times to is the lap times of those cars immediately ahead of him. And yes, he is directly quicker than those cars, but he's not quick enough to go and get his lap back on pace.
No, and that there brings the problem, doesn't it? Is what you need to be doing, and that's the problem that has been given to Ray Oliver is you're not quick enough to go and overtake the people in front. However, one person that has had his own little problems is Mr. Provenzali here, as he has just made a little bit of a boo-boo going up through turn 6 and 7. That BMW's unsettled on the gravel, holds his brakes, and away down he goes. But he has dropped down into 10th.
Yeah. And what I'm saying to Ray Oliver, and what I'm really trying to say is, you can't do it on pace, so do it another way. And the other way is to open up your strategy. It's safety car. Safety car's his only hope, realistically. So set yourself up that at all stages you stay out the longest you possibly can.
Yep. You're never going to get a safety car now, right? And I'm going to put that out there and tell you why you're not going to get a safety car right now. Is a safety car generally gets called if we've got 2 or 3 cars more involved in the incident. We haven't got that many cars close together on the circuit at the moment. You can see the gaps on the left-hand side from 5th. It's 5, it's 1, it's 4, it's 1, it's 3, it's 2, it's 1. We haven't got the cars together to cause that safety car incident. So he's got to look at it and go, right, well, we're not going to get this safety car, so I need to fuel save, jump him in the pits, get my lap back, and then give myself an opportunity. But he didn't do that, and it's shown now with Donaldson, because he's closed right back up again to the back end of Gretsch on how much he was being held up.
And for Donaldson, he'd be a little bit annoyed with that because he could have had an overtake done by now, potentially. Anyway, you live, you learn. And a little bit of karma never goes astray either. And this is going to at least buy Donaldson an opportunity here.
Yeah, I expect him to try and keep up with Gretsch at some... Not if he does that. Yep, over to the right-hand side you go. Try and take it off there, Sunshine. You've got... probably might have copped a little bit of a slowdown going on that way. So get rid of it as quickly as you can. So.
He's still tagging along. I'm really curious about Jepson's pace because he's not been able to skip clear at all. And Eli Donaldson on the last lap just at a 30.550. So what's realistically happened for Eli Donaldson, I think, is that the cars ahead of him are now moving on to fuel-saving mode, and they're really trying to make sure that they hit the half an hour mark. Reminder, we're 22 minutes and 45 seconds into this race, so rapidly closing in on pit stops, and the cars out of Eli Donaldson, I think, are in the process right now of ensuring they don't have to make a second stop. Whereas Eli Donaldson was sort of left between a rock and a hard place, and the only way for him to remain relevant was to press on a little bit. Now he'll have to go back in a mega fuel save.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Check it. Blue flag rule only used in F1. This blue flag is with a yellow strip, is only to let slower cars know that there's a faster car approaching. The actual iRacing ruling generally would be it's there to facilitate a move. It's on the faster car's responsibility, but the interpretation of the word facilitate doesn't quite seem to work. I've had plenty of rants about this on multiple broadcasts.
You're talking official racing. That's an official racing rule for an iRacing.
Yep.
Blue flag rules within the league are different. And that's what you've got to remember. The flags and the systems within iRacing are in operation for sure, but effectively you're then taking an additional interpretation on top of them and tacking that on, and that's why they're asking Ray to jump out of the way.
You've got to be mindful of what you're trying to get involved with, as we've talked about many times. You've got to be really careful on what you really want to get involved with and what you really don't need to get involved with. And from Ray Oliver's point of view, I don't generally think Scotty...
I don't think he's got a case. No, there was no reason. No reason. No. Anyway, I've seen a bit of that from Ray lately in a couple different places, so... That's the difficulty for Ray. Look, I'll give you a few mindset peeks into what goes on behind his helmet. He's moved into fly-in, fly-out mine work at the moment, which, you know, good for an income, good for paving his way forward. But what's that meant is, and I've seen this from a lot of people, is that there's sim racing aspects. Ray used to be a phenomenal driver, very, very good driver. He's just spending less and less time on the sim, and you can very visibly see his speed eroding. I think there is a little bit of an ego point in there whereby he's not happy with his own performances of late, and I think that comes out in the way that he talks to people at the moment. He's also surrounded himself with a new group of people, and with that does come a little bit of pressure and a little bit of mindset changes and application changes. There is some of that for sure. But yeah, I would say the big one is that Ray gets very, very little time behind the sim, so he wants it to be productive, he wants it to be good time, and that's leading to a sense of frustration, and that's why he's acting in the way that he's acting. So he feels entitled, he feels that his race got taken away from him very, very quickly, and I think he's got good points there, absolutely, yep, stuff that was out of his control, but at the same time, you know, it's how you respond. Great drivers are defined by bad situations, turning them into what can we achieve from them, and that's the difference.
Look at this, though, Scotty. There wasn't anybody else.
No, it's the secondary one. It's the secondary one, the one with Rain Campbell.
That was all him.
The secondary one with Rain Campbell.
Yeah, this is where obviously we saw the Rain Campbell incident with the rejoin that was somewhat horrific, but. Obviously, Rain gets it all wrong, goes over the curb there, you know, and that's fine. Stayed there and waited. Look, he's got a car, he now pulls out and goes and does that, right? Which is not ideal. But yeah, I get that from Ray Oliver's point of view, but the responsive driving, acting up almost, you know, is not ideal as we're getting to 33 minutes. The Aston Martin of Jepson with Gretsch and Donaldson. Gretsch is giving him pressure.
Foster and Hallinan. in the lane now, by the way, so they're definitely not going to make it in terms of fuels, which is not necessarily something from Fozzie's point of view. That was one of his fall downs at the last couple of rounds in terms of both GT3 and GT4, is he's not got the fuel strategy right. But at least he's no Adrian Gretsch. And from Adrian Gretsch's perspective, I'm starting to bite my fingernails for him already.
Yeah. He's got fuel. That's all that matters.
Well, he's got fuel in the tank right now.
Yeah, right now.
The pace at the front has
that's
absolutely come down, though. Owen Coleman was capable of 30.480 last lap, 31.2. So the fuel games have started. Gretsch will not make it, will not make the half-hour mark. It will be a two-stop race for him. Coleman and Dutch are both in as well. Two-stop race for the bulk of the field. Who has managed to not use the right foot too much? Who is going to manage to save it enough? Adam Jepson skips through. And I tell you what, one more lap of this is going to put him disastrously close to going the distance. Eli Donaldson will follow him through. Richard Mayer is the next driver. And remember, Richard Mayer's got himself now a win in the GT3 series, and he also made the fuel strategy work.
Yeah, Sam, basically, Jepson, Donaldson, Mayer, Burgess, Chapman are the ones that have. Jimmy's even in, and expected him to have one more lap than everybody else. Fuzz is the first of the pit stoppers, do we say, down in 12th. So Fozzie is the first one that's gone in. So we'll see if he jumps Jimmy and anybody else that he can at the moment. They're still in the pit lane as Fozz is coming into that final chicane, of course. Dutch is out, Coleman's out, Gretsch is out. It's what's Provenzali going to do in conjunction to that man. If Provenzali is not moving shortly, well, Foz has got them as well. So Foz has jumped Provenzali, he's jumped Long, and he's jumped Middleton. So is Hanlon here, but it's what Sam Chapman and the rest in front of Sam from 5th upwards are going to be able to do.
So now it becomes that race Dutch, Coleman, Gretsch will come back out. Hallinan as well is continued on, so how deep can they possibly go? And Jepson's now into the lane, as is Eli Donaldson. The key factor from here is Richard Mayer is also in, 29 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, don't forget the other side of that coin is these guys did a formation lap, so if they can go the same duration in race trim plus one lap, that gets them home.
Well, not for Sam Chapman, not for Burgess, Meyer, Donaldson and Jepson. They've got to try. You probably only need one lap of fuel, right? I think that's probably where they're going to be at. They probably only need one lap of saving. So I think that's going to be where we're going to be looking at. Lap times round about the 104s to 105s. 104 for Dutch, 106 for Coleman, 106 for Gretsch. So Dutch was 2 seconds quicker, but it was literally about 3 tenths slower. 3 tenths slower on the pit stop time, but Donaldson and Jepson is looking at coming out. He's not going to be too far away here, as he is going to come out in 3rd. So he's come out in front of Eli Donaldson, so he's jumped him on the way in.
Yeah, so that's worked out for him. In the meantime, Gretsch spent an awful long time in the pit there. Jepson didn't look like Jepson was quicker through the lane, so there would have been a few cars in this mix that have not had to fill the tank all the way up, but they didn't have enough fuel to get that extra lap. That's why they'll be a touch quicker through the lane. Gretsch, so interesting basically to note, the drivers that got to lap 20 on that run may not make it home. Where is Mayer? What's happened to him? Did he get an entering pit lane penalty?
He was very slow. There was a tyre change involved in that. It was only 14 seconds, mind you, or 11 seconds, depending on what time you want to go off. So Richard Mayer may have inadvertently changed tyres, whether he purposely did or purposely didn't. He's probably got a fresh pair of boots under that machine. So there we go.
Is what it is. In terms of things, I don't think necessarily tyres just aren't. They're not going to come in. So it'll be an interesting one to sort of keep half an eye on and see where it goes. But yeah, Look, the guys, basically the only guys that can make it through the end of the race are Darren Burgess, Sam Chapman, and Richard Mayer. Everyone else, maybe Adam Jepson. And I mean, remember, his fill was a lot shorter than everyone else, so he could have gone the furthest. That pacing, that might have caught him. So in terms of fuel strategy, if they do have to make another stop, it'll be Jepson from Mayer. Sorry, it'll be Jepson from Burgess, from Mayer, from Chapman. And the problem for Richard Mayer is he's got to make those fresh tyres come in, and then he's got to make them work. It's a loaded lap too. There's very little time around this lap where you're not turning left and right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very close for some of these. They've either got to go on a mega fuel saving mission, as Darren Burgess just did Martin Harlan, guarantee, Martin interfering, that may have been some form of slow down addiction. Well, but Jepson.
That's an interesting way of saying it.
Yeah.
Did you just say he's slow down addicted, Jimmy? I think you said he's slow down addicted.
No, I said he may be a slow down affected.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a good strategy at this track to not be slow down addicted. So, well, most tracks actually, it's generally a good idea. My apologies. Continue on. Pretend I never said anything.
Do you know what, Scotty? I completely forgot where I was going. You threw me off, and my train of thought went out the window. So I'm not entirely sure.
Well, for the meantime, as it currently stands, Dutch has got through on Coleman in the pit cycle. I wonder whether surely Coleman's not going to try and just draft off him and go that. I just don't see. The problem is, once you know that you're on a two-stopper, go light the clappers. There is 0 point in saving fuel.
The problem is, this man is part of the danger area, as well as Richard Mayer and Sam Chapman, due to the fact that the Porsche always seems to be able to save fuel a lot easier or carry fuel where they end up with more than anybody else. So I think for me, if Jepson doesn't quite succeed and Burgess may miss it by a little bit, I think Mayer or Chapman might have an opportunity.
Well, for the meantime, Adam Jepson sits in what is effective. He's got the thing I like about this, JP, that I'm really, really enjoying is he now controls this race. If Andrew Dutch, something's happened to Dutch. I think he might have got a slowdown penalty.
Yeah, he's just
actually coming through the last chicane.
Yeah, that's what places.
So now he's having some graphical issues as well.
Can't see how he would have got a slowdown unless he chuffed. Oh well.
I would say it's on the exit.
I think but Dutch there.
Oh no, there you go. It was on the entry. You saw how much curb he took on the left-hand side at the entry. Yeah,
now we've got a very spread out. You can see everybody above 1.5 seconds, near enough to the car in front. Jimmy Middleton down here is made his way up to 14th. Obviously, as we know, he started from the pit lane. Ray Campbell, we know, has had his fair share of ta-ta-tas. Ray Oliver's still running. He's in front of Foz. They're currently mixing it in with the top 6. Foz is a long way back from Gretsch. I say long way, he's about 2.5 seconds. And Donaldson's further up the road from Gretsch there by about 4 seconds. So, yeah, gap's starting to appear here.
Just sort of thinking back through my mind, so I was actually having a good discussion with the boys in charge of the league. Way back, it was just actually after the end of Aragon, the GT4s at Aragon, and we sort of said, oh, maybe actually, no, it was the GT3s at Aragon. We're actually talking about track layouts and what to use. So you'll notice here that they're using the alternate chicane in the final sector for the fans watching along at home. I'll give you again just sort of another peel, with peeling back sort of layers. It's nearly like I'm peeling the skin back of someone's skull, drilling through the bone and sort of showing you what their brain looks like is how I feel sometimes. But this is sort of how the league is running. They're looking at different ways to sort of create better racing. So when Zolder was on the calendar, there was discussion around, okay, we've got 2 layouts here, and this was all triggered by a practice session I started, by the way, for Aragon. I wanted to test some of the weather stuff, and I set a practice session up for Aragon, and I thought it was the one using the TCR tyre bundles, which we did use for the GT3, which we didn't use for GT4. They said, oh, we didn't know what the difference between the different layouts was. I said, well, look, here it is. All it is the TCR. All it is the tyre bundles. That's the only difference between the TCR and the GP layout. That then triggered a discussion about what layouts and what alternate layouts we can use at all the different circuits.
Yeah.
Don't forget we're going to Motegi and Spa. The GT4s and the GT3s will run a different layout at Motegi. They will not be on the same layout. And then at Spa, both will be on the endurance pits. I cannot tell you what Motegi layout we'll actually be using.
Yeah, I'll have a look, actually. I think they're actually up. Base there as well. Is this real life? No, it's not. This is an
It's just fantasy.
He's also said, this is your favourite car. Never mind. I love this game. Yeah, you are right. It is generally a game, depending on who you talk to. Every driver has a different opinion. You know, it's a different mix of person, what you believe and what you think there, but generally based, this is it. Is this my favourite car? No, I'm not a GT4 driver. I drive NASCAR trucks, so I'm far away from the spectrum of the GT4 sky.
So I can tell you, Motegi for the GT3s, they're looking to use the Grand Prix layout, yeah.
Which is the full.
But I know they were going to use one of the shorter layouts for the GT4s.
Yeah, there is the east, the west. They wouldn't use the west, it's 6 corners.
It's too short to be the east.
They could use the east, but again, they would need to make sure the sessions are set now for people to get practice in. The Grand Prix is not massively different. You've only got maybe 4 corners that might actually do that, and a different start-finish straight. So, yeah, we'll have to find out what they're going to do. Game, says Greg Brooks.
I don't understand.
Greg.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, game versus sim. It's a game.
It's a game.
At the end of the day, we're a simified game, is the best way to put it. We're a simified game.
There was...
Can you show me where the tow trucks are that return cars back to the pit lane after an accident?
Oh my God, I cannot remember. Somebody gave me a great acronym of what this could be the other day when this issue popped up again. I might have to have a think about that one, Scott. And it was a simulated driving game or something along them lines, where it had both simulated and game in the...
It is. We are what people at home need to remember is we're a combination of both. With some of the best bits, with some of the worst bits of both. We have the ability to get races restarted without repairing barriers, but at the same time, cars don't ricochet off barriers in the same way here as they would in real life. They get buried in tire barriers. That doesn't happen here.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, is obviously with this, they can go in and get their repairs done within minutes. You know, fast repair makes it that you just get it done for nothing within seconds. Where obviously in real life, if you go and smash a wheel off, like we've seen with Ray Oliver and that, and would be done. So it's yeah.
I would like to point out in response to Greg Brooks's comment about iRacing racing simulator, Gran Turismo calls themselves the real driving simulator.
Exactly.
How does it feel? Absolutely not to real life. There's no damage. There's no nothing going on. Is it fan? Does it create for better racing? Yes and no.
Dutch is in the pits.
So he can make it home from here. This is him trying to undercut.
Yeah, Dutch is in the pits. Martin Howland is chasing down Provençali. Adam Jepson there is still got Eli Donaldson behind him. I can guarantee Jepson does not want to be rushing this situation. Going to have to try and allow Donaldson to go through, which will allow Jepson to go back into his fuel saving mode there. So, you know, I think for Jepson now, move over. Let him through. Let him pull you along, because I think by racing each other, anything that Jepson's trying to do on his fuel saving, probably near enough, probably gone out the window. But at the moment, Martin Hanlon and Ricky
There you go.
Provençali having a good old scrap here.
Yeah, they have been. And whoa, Ricky tries to go to the beach on Easter weekend. Albeit there's no water, Ricky. There's no sand and surf, just sand.
Yeah, Greg there as well. If we start calling it a game, then my wife will be right. Can't have that now. Come on, boys. Well, unfortunately, it is how it is, Greg. You know, Based is right. It is.
Love it.
It is a game, and you all jump on and play the game. And I don't go out and say that Call of Duty is a real world army simulator. It's not. So, you know, I think there's a lot more there. Dutchy's come out in front of Ronald Long, just mind you, as he's had to make that overtake. Ronald Long is here, and he's only done one stop. Dutch has done two, but it's all the way down in 12th, and he come out in front of Long, but it's got Stefan Mellis, Chapman, and everybody else in front of him. So we're going to have to see what this plans out. I'm surprised Jepson's still fighting Donaldson here without.
I don't think they're
allowed him
fighting.
through.
I think Donaldson's using him because I just saw Donaldson have a huge lift down into turn one. So again, we come back. There are two ways to think about this, right? Dutch has just gone, yep, I'm not going to make it. So now Owen Coleman's got 5.5 seconds. The problem Owen Coleman's got right now is he has to commit to making it, or he's dead in the water, because Dutch will just blow his doors off. So as soon as Dutch pit, basically the only thing that could be done from that point in time is you go, right, I'm either fuel saving right now and I'm definitely going to make it, or I'm not and I'm going as hard as I can. Those are the only two decisions that you can make in that situation. You can't go, oh boy, I'm not sure. If you're not sure, go. Forget it. It's not going to happen. Go. Because you will just lose track position and still have to make the pit stop. That's the worst possible scenario. These two boys here are gaming each other. They're absolutely toying with each other. And this plays more into Coleman's hands. This plays more into Gretsch's hands. Now, Gretsch had that issue with the pit stops, really, really slow stop, whatever's going on there. And now he's out of it, right? But if these two just keep aggressively fuel saving off of each other, and Gretsch took 3/4 of a second off of these guys on the last lap. So he is absolutely in position.
He's in the pit, so is Foz.
We went in?
Yeah, Foz is in. So now it's going to be down to what Hanlon's going to go through. He's going to go through. Richard Mayer, I should hope, goes through. Burgess is going to go through. Chapman's going to go through. Depends on Mellis. Mellis is the one being closed down by Dutch. It's whether or not Dutch is going to get out in front of these two that have not even stopped in their pit box yet. Foz has stopped. Gretsch has just stopped. And Andrew Dutch looks like he's going to come and clear them as well. Ricky having troubles with the dramas with the chicane. Absolutely, Greggy has been all day. These two boys as simming each other, not gaming each other.
Well, that's the ultimate. I mean, that's language use, isn't it? That's a completely different thing. That's not definition use. That's language use, which is a problem. So
does it make it any more realistic when I get a 7KI rated driver tell me that it's a game?
Oh, it's absolutely a game. I mean, you listen to the way Daniel Morad talks about things, and he'll tell you, yeah, look, it's close, but it's still, it's still not right in these positions. He says, I wonder whether or not he's been told he's got to talk specific ways about it. And by all, I think one of the biggest conversations that's come out since Rain is they've got it the best of all the titles, as Dutch is now crawling all over, watching this little battle pack in terms of fuel saving. But Andrew Dutch is getting held up by Stefan Mellis right now, and if you're going to win a race, you got to get your way by, and Stefan Mellis is absolutely in the way for Andrew Dutch and causing him all kinds of problems. Now Mellis is going to run it deep. That will allow Dutch to get on the power, get on the inside and clear him, and that's exactly what he needed to do at that juncture.
Yeah, he had to. He had to make that moment work, and he had to go and basically say, I've got to go. I can't sit here. How much would Mellis more defended? Probably loads. And wouldn't have allowed him through, but Dutch had to make that opportunity there. And currently, in front of who he needs to be in front of, we've got obviously Gretsch down here, Foster's here, but it's what this man has done and what choice has he made currently about where he's at on the fuel. And I still think this still could be a Jepson win because Dutch is still 36 seconds back. And as we know, the further it goes, the more the gap grows, or the more the gap stays as it is, should we say, the less fuel, if Jepson does have to go in, the less fuel he has to actually maintain and take on. So
he's not gonna save that much fuel. He's absolutely not. So he's not gonna.
He only had to get a lap, maybe 2 at the most. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah, so the only way that it matters is you just mentioned if they have to come back down to the lane. If they have to come back down the lane, it's over. By the way, Coleman's lifted the pace because now he's been pulling away at about a second a lap from these two guys, now out to about 7.5 seconds. So he's skipped as far clear as he possibly can. Traffic's not necessarily going to be an issue to the tail end of this race as well. Dutch picks up another couple cars as well. So this is, again, all critical to the race of Andrew Dutch. The last time he lost a second to Owen Coleman. That could be more than enough. That will put Owen Coleman back ahead yet again. And it's a case of 2 different stories completely and utterly. I think Owen Coleman's got the right strategy. Cutting your way through traffic is going to cost Dutchy a huge amount of time. And in terms of things, he's now 44 seconds off the race lead, but that's about 37 seconds off of the rear bumper of Adam Jepson and Eli Donaldson. And those are the guys we're keeping half an eye on. The other one to keep an eye on is Richard Mayer. Richard Mayer's now got through on Burgess and Chapman and skipped clear of those guys. That's who he was racing for position. And the key factor for Dutch right now, 15 seconds behind Richard Mayer. So with what, 13 minutes, 12 minutes left on the clock? Richard Mayer has got to lose 15 seconds back to Andrew Dutch. That's how much time he's got. You can cruise home from here on the fuel if you're going to make it.
If you're going to play the card, aren't you? And that's the thing for Mayer. He's got to look at and say, right, do I use Provenzali to try and fuel save even more? Because this gap's going out. It's not coming down. It's 15.6 at the moment. It's nearly touching 15.7. It has touched 15.7. So from that perspective, does he need to be driving as hard as he is, or can he afford just to sit behind Provenzali? But I think Jepson may have something to do with this. I think he's got a big in, should we say?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm enjoying this. So this is a really, for those of you that are sitting here and watching along at home and going, Scotty, this is absolutely dull and boring. I joined a Facebook group recently. It was the Dull Men's Club. I thoroughly enjoy every minute of my time there. I recommend looking it up, JP. It's a mix of Australians and people from the UK, by the way. So it's actually a really, really good group to talk about.
Is it
it's
old
about
people,
all these really...
Scotty? Because I'm like...
No, it's not old people. It's a mix.
Oh, okay.
It's a mix. It's actually a really interesting mix. They talk about soil. They talk about bees. They talk about random topics they come across.
Don't stick me on bees,
for
mate.
those
I
of you...
need some EpiPens otherwise. You know what I mean? Me and bees don't go together.
But they talk about, to most people, some topics are really, really boring. Try talking to my wife about car racing. She understands enough, but it's generally considered boring. To you and me, this is a really, really interesting battle. Yeah. Watch what's going on with the fuel here. I would recommend, can we get an onboard shot from Eli Donaldson for a lap here?
Yeah, we definitely can. There you go. There he is, tucked up behind him. So Eli Donaldson is there with Adam Jepson. But I think we're going to have to see how he gets on here.
So watch this. So the key, there's a couple of key bits and pieces that's a part of all of this. First and foremost is, where are they burning the fuel? Someone's in trouble on the front straight.
Ray Oliver.
He's rolling again, so he's actually okay now.
Doing that. Brakes. That from Ray Oliver there. Donaldson and Jepson still going. It'll be on the run down into 8th, where we're at now, and whether or not he's going to lift coming in.
Remember, clutches don't work in these cars. Look at the big lifts. It was the same thing from Adam Jepson up ahead of him. So he's using a little bit more fuel at the moment, and that says to me that he's done more saving than Jepson has. And the problem for both of these guys is neither of them wants to be the car that's in first place. I don't know how much Formula E racing you've watched, But the guide to being good at Formula E and the guide to being good at cycling is relatively similar. And think in the back of your mind, you've got one big battery, which is exactly what happens in Formula E, but from a cycling perspective, it's your legs and the amount of food that you've consumed and all the carbs that you've got going on in your body. And the way that it works, Coleman's in, yeah, so he's abandoned the plan. We always knew that this was going to happen. So this will decide who's got the lead between himself and Andrew Dutch. This should just be a splash and dash, because he's only got to add about 9 minutes worth of fuel, so about 5 laps worth of fuel, I think, here. So it's going to be very, very short stop.
He's out now.
Dutch a final chicane. He's going to clear him comfortably.
He should clear him, but it's how is he going to be able to clear? Where is Dutchy? Oh, is it? That's gone. It's where the likes of Richard Mayer, Jepson. We know Jepson was later. Donaldson was later. So it's
Coleman's
if
5 seconds up the road.
Yeah, it's
Richard Mayer. But yeah, so back to the point that I was making was look at these guys and think about the fuel that they've got to burn as sort of like a big battery. This is what happens in Formula E. The quickest spot in the pack, there's the most efficient warps made. You can't fall too far back in a cycling pack. You can't fall too far back in a Formula E race. Why? Because when the pace starts to lift, you've got to be there when the pace starts to lift in the right position. So what these guys are doing is putting themselves in the right position. The right position is not punching the hole in the air, which is the difficulty that Adam Jepson's got. When Donaldson decides to go, he can go earlier than Adam Jepson because somebody else is punching that hole in the air for him the whole time. So even though they've both got a similar amount of fuel to sort of save, it comes down to when they flip the switch.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's at that moment when you know, right, I've got enough now, I haven't got enough. And I think they're going to have to go for maybe one more lap, maybe 2 more laps, trying to hold on with the fuel that's in there. Then I think they're safe to go. And I think currently as well, Owen Coleman is still 27 seconds. His stop, basing it off his stop alone, it says pit lane time of 44, but we take that with a big old grain of salt here because there is a whole lot of mixture of what time it can do. Probably going to be closer to 30, maybe 35, 30 seconds, maybe. So Jepson, if he's going to abandon it now, go in while he's got to come to
he's got to command. The problem for both of these guys is they've got to command, and they are. It's nearly harder to do the fuel saving math whilst you've got somebody harassing you. Now Jepson will probably be aware that Donaldson is also on the same game that he's. Have a look at Ryan Campbell. So this sort of tells you a really, really interesting picture. So Campbell, I think, got a pit lane penalty for whether or not it was speeding on the way in, unsafe entry, yada, yada, yada. You know, any of those sorts of things. I think he's got himself a penalty in the pit lane. And that's why he's back here. So he definitely had to do an extra stop. And look at how much further they have to lift out. And then Rain surges all the way down into turn number 1, catches them a mile. And yeah, kicks them from there. Hallinan, I think, has probably only got enough fuel for 1 or 2 more laps. Whereas these guys, if they can do another 20, well, the race distance is scheduled on to be 39 laps, by the way, so they'll make it home.
Hallinan is in. Robert Sarling's still gone through. Richard Mayer's still going. Darren Burgess is another one-on-one stop. Stefan Mellis, believe it or not, is also on 1. Nope, he's on 2 now because he's gone into the pit lane. So it's really Darren Burgess, and the top 4 are all on 1 stops currently.
Well, Mayer's going to get caught by Coleman. The margin was 5.5 seconds when Coleman's come out of the pits. He's more than half that already. So Coleman will get to Mayer, but it will probably be on the last lap of the race. So he's got to be not, I wouldn't say circumspect about getting through. He's definitely got to be aggressive. He's going to have so little time. And the problem from a fuel saving perspective is how much do you save, how much do you fight?
There are the pit stops.
Robin Zarley's lifted the pace as well.
Yeah, but he's still only on 1. Jepson, Donaldson and Jepson tried to at one point, swapped positions, but then went back the other way. They made
Donaldson's pushing. He's done. Is he done with the fuel saving? Yeah, he's done with the fuel saving. So Donaldson now goes, I can make this to the end, and Jepson's like, well, kind of can and I kind of can't. He wants to keep track position because he knows as soon as he gives up the track position, getting it back is going to be very, very difficult, but he has to burn fuel to stay here. And if he hasn't saved enough yet, he's in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think Donaldson is done with his saving there as well. Fritz, good to see something other than a Merc up front. I do agree. Got an Aston Martin and a Porsche field, but if you go and watch other JPB GT4s, it's a very Porsche-dominated field.
He's still lifting.
And Ricky's
He's still,
in.
Donaldson's still lifting.
Ricky's in as well, so touch and go, I think, at the front.
Oh man, this is on a knife's edge. How many times this season has it been on a knife's edge in terms of fuel? His last time out was, yeah, so it's kicking on.
I was getting Dutch. Was it Dutch? No, it wasn't Dutch. Was it Adrian Gretsch there? He's been very close on the knife edge. 5 feet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Sam Chapman, I think, just went wide. No, it was Ronald Long that went wide at turn 1. Sam Chapman's up to 8th place, still cutting his way through, yet to make his second stop. And the problem for Sam Chapman is he's now got Adrian Gretsch glued to his rear bumper. And here comes Gretschy. He won't fight that one. He's still got some fuel to save.
Yeah, they're going to have one more here. Whatever these guys are going to do, they've got to do it now. And it looks like Donaldson and Jepson. How's Jepson done?
He's side by side. He's got the nose ahead. Job's done. On the run down into turn number 1. So Donaldson, like I said, he saved enough. I thought Jepson was in the pot just a little bit too much. He just couldn't quite get there, and he had to force him to cover. And Donaldson went, all right, no worries. I'm going to give myself room to breathe, and then I'm going to press a little bit harder. So he went, okay, I can't overtake here, can't overtake here, can't overtake here, save some more gas. It just meant that the next time by, he could definitely go for it. He wasn't limited. Dutch has missed a trick. Tell you what, Dutch and Coleman have missed a trick here.
Yeah, but how done is done for Richard Mayer. He's got Coleman 1.5 seconds back. So if Mayer isn't done, and he needs to hold on for that little bit
His
longer,
pace come up.
He could be in trouble, but he needs to up it.
His pace has come up. I can tell you for certain. His pace has absolutely come back up again.
Well, he did a 138 last time round, and he did a 136 time before that. So, yeah, Mayer is opening up the pace, and hopefully will continue to stay where he is. He deserves it.
And Fozzie's just requested a tow. So Fozzie's had an incident in the last chicane now. And I tell you what, Jepson's struggling in terms of fuel. And Mayer is going quite hard. Mayer is ripping time out of him right now. So this is the final chicane. That's not the final chicane. That's earlier in the lap.
I don't believe it was that one. Thought it was.
He's broken something. This is where he requested to know, but the car's already broken by this point.
It is, but let's catch up with Donaldson and Jepson. They are on final lap of the race. Looks like Donaldson might take this one.
Oh, what a strategy. What a strategy. Well done. And he's just used Adam Jepson. He's absolutely used him up.
I agree. They've done rather well between them to get to this point. It's now, where is Jepson? It's going to make an overtake. Where's he going to make it? The best opportunity down into 8.
Oh, Coleman's just had a huge moment on the Klein chicane, by the way, in his pursuit of Richard Mayer. So that battle's now done. You won't get him.
Burgess should. Oh, Dutchy.
This will be tight.
Yeah, but it's going to be Donaldson here and Adam Jepson going over the line.
Out to the final chicane for the final time. It was about lifting off that right-hand pedal. It was about having pace when it counted. And he picked the perfect time to press a little bit harder on the gas pedal. He burned fuel to perfection. Tonight's race winner will be Eli Donaldson from Adam Jepson. Richard Mayer is going to get home for 3rd. He's in the last chicane at this point in time. Coleman's 4 seconds back. Dutch had to slow down to clear on the final lap of the race as he got to Darren Burgess, so he won't get that spot away. But the fart boys, well, they maybe should have farted into their fuel tank for a few extra laps worth of fuel. Did not work for them here tonight.
They went full bore right at the beginning, didn't they? And you know,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't lift, they didn't do anything, they didn't save anything. They just went for it. So I think overall, going to be very interesting. Having a nice conversation with Donaldson and Jepson after.
Oh, remember what I said at the top of the show? You're going to have to do something to go after Coleman. They did. They did something indeed.
Did. Problem is, was fourth. Giving himself an opportunity. So devastated, so sorry to all of us, says Rain Campbell in YouTube chat. Fair play on the apology, mate. It was not your best, finest moment, Rain.
We all make mistakes.
Hey,
It's disappointing,
more often.
but we all make mistakes.
There are the results for you.
Yeah, and it's going to be Eli Donaldson. It was a race of going slow the quickest, and he went slow and saved enough gas. Gets home by a quarter of a second of Adam Jepson. Richard Mayer, 22 seconds further back, and Owen Coleman, 26 seconds off the lead. He'll be looking at that one and scratching his head a little bit. Darren Burgess gets home on the one-stopper as well in 5th. Andrew Dutch in 6th will basically nearly murder his hopes of a championship this time by. Gretsch does manage to finish a race without running out of fuel. Sam Chapman from Martin Hallen and Jimmy Middleton finishes inside the top 10. Guess what? He finishes ahead of Ricky Provenzali. He will be bragging about that one for weeks to come. From Stefan Mellis from Ricky Provenzali, Rain Campbell, Ronald Long, Simon Smith. Fozzie doesn't finish, neither does Chris Riddell. And, Chris Riddell does finish. Ray Oliver, the second of the DNFs, and Latella with issues on lap 1, also in the DNF department.
But it was a good race, I think. You know, and that's the thing, wasn't it? Good race. They all showed different hands. Eli Donaldson doing a stellar job getting that Aston Martin onto that front and being amazing. So fair play to them to go out and do something different. So that's what they did.
Yeah, well done. Absolutely well done. And that's going to give us an opportunity to talk to the second place driver as it currently stands as the first one to jump down and say hello to us. Adam Jepson, tell you what, mate, it was a battle of knowing when to push on. You started the fuel-saving games very, very early on, and that was critical because the other guys, they went very, very hard from the outset, and then they all of a sudden went, oh, damn, I've got to save the gas. They realized way too late.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's always that risky. You don't know if you're doing the right thing when the first two kind of check out a bit more and think, well, I've got my numbers, I've got to hit them if I've got any chance of making it on a one-stop. And I think when they sort of came back to me at the end of that sort of cycle for the first pit stop, I thought there's a good chance they may have gone a bit hard here, and then obviously I got the one extra lap and was hopefully, fingers crossed, that was the case. Turned out they both did, and yeah, it ended up being a classic battle for the last lap, running on fumes.
Oh, mate, how good is battling whilst you're running on fumes comes down to who has got the gas to go earliest, and we just saw that run down into turn number 1. You didn't have enough poke. You still had to lift. You still had to keep saving, but at some point you've got to abandon that strategy and start going. When did you know you were in trouble compared to Eli?
Probably not up until I made a blue in the final chicane. Just went in a bit deep and washed up all my speed, and there was nothing I could do to regain that sort of speed when you're sort of really on the limit for fuel. So as soon as he kind of got that run, I knew I was toast. But yeah, I think I finished with half a litre in the tank, so I got 2 more turns after that. So yeah, I didn't have anything else to battle with. It was very much down to the wire for me.
Mate, that's 2 cups worth of fuel. You can just about make 2 cups worth of coffee out of that. That could have been used to go a little bit faster. Well, all's well that ends well, mate. P2, time to celebrate another strong result, mate. Who's the sponsors to thank for you?
Just our boys, the Bluebell Racing Team. Thanks for having a good time. Happy Easter to everyone.
Mate, go off and enjoy the chockies. They're not the first place chockies, but second place chockies taste nearly as good.
Good enough to me.
Thanks very much for your time, Adam. Have a great night.
Thanks, mate.
And we're going to take one step back and we'll talk to Richard Mayer. JP, I believe you're sitting alongside of Richard now.
I am Richard. Welcome in, buddy. How are you?
G'day, JP. G'day, Scotty. How are you, boys?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Not bad at all there, bud. You know, one stop, fuel saving, finished in third. Did you think you were going to hold on to it when you saw Coleman less than a second behind you?
Coleman's scary at the best of times, let alone when he's about a second a lap faster in the mirrors. So, no, to be honest, I thought he was going to get me, but we just hung on in the end. We just hung on.
Well, yeah, you did, and you finished 4 seconds in the end because he get himself a slowdown. So that also benefited you.
I think he might have, yeah.
Yeah, he did. How was, when you go into a race like this, think, right, I've got to try something here. How brave were you committing to that one stop? Because it's not always something that you commit into.
Yeah, look, fuel saving something I feel mostly comfortable with, and I think Zolder, we're pretty lucky here with a couple of long straights and a few big areas to lift. So I was following Fozzie there in stint 1 for a little while, saving a bit behind him, and then managing to get the stint to the full, I think 19 laps it was, the first stint. I thought, I've got to go for it. I've got to go for it. So I just started saving like crazy in the second stint, and yeah, it paid off. But I did cough over the line. So I think the Porsche might be a little less efficient than the boys in the Astons up the front, but still got me there in the end, so I was very grateful for that.
Yeah, the Porsche can generally run longer than some of the other cars as well, and you know, that was worked in your advantage. But you know, you've made a jump and done something different than not everybody has managed to do. Are we going to see this from you again as we go into the last 2 rounds, or are you just going to think, okay, maybe I got lucky, let's just leave it where it is?
We'll have to have a look. I've just picked the GT4 back up last sort of this week or so. I thought I will have a bit of a run in it. I did a series in the GT4s 12, 18 months ago and had a lot of fun. I really liked them. They move around enough, you know, but not too much. The racing's close. So I'll do a bit of practice for the next round and see how we go. But we've got GT3s next week, so I'll have to shift my focus to that.
Well, Richard, well done to you, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us and finishing third place. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Just the rolling billboard, suitspeed.com. If you want some good sim racing gloves, go and check out suitspeed.com. And for anybody part of our series or watching out there in the land of YouTube, you can use the code PEL, Premier Endurance League, PEL, for 10% off your order. So get your hands on a couple of good gloves there.
Are you ready to publicly announce the release of the second edition gloves, or are we still a little way off that yet?
We're a little way off. There's a little teaser in the Discord for anyone playing at home. But yeah, we're hoping to have some new stuff ready in the next 2 or 3 weeks for the customers out there. So we've been very grateful for the positive feedback on edition 1. So makes sense to go for edition 2. So keep your eyes peeled. Watch this space.
Is that the one with the Scotty Rankin and JP signatures on? Wasn't that the special editions that I got asked to send a signature for?
Mate, I've got my pair. I can tell you, since Richard committing to sending me product, he's actually finished on the podium both Premier Endurance League races since. So,
Yeah. No, look, we'll be actually having a chat with Scotty and Mez on their podcast in a couple of weeks, which will be really fun. And yeah, look, maybe we'll send a pair to you, Scotty, and then you can send them on to JP, and then we can raffle them off with a couple of highly valuable signatures on them. How about
that? I'm down for that, Rich. I'm down for that all day, buddy. But thank you so much for that, mate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Take care.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one. Finally, we're going to move to the top step of the podium. It was the art of going fast as slow as you possibly can. And tonight, Eli Donaldson got the job done. It took a mistake to get there, Eli, but it also took some fuel saving, and you've mastered that aspect as best as you possibly can tonight.
Well, I wasn't fast enough to stay with the front guys, so the only other hope I had was fuel saving and hoping that they didn't have enough to save. So I just kept, I just sat behind, whoever was happy to sit behind, and just kept fuel saving until the last few laps. I thought I was going to get a speeding penalty on the entry because I forgot to engage the limiter, but I got lucky there. So bit of luck, not much talent, but we'll take it.
Mate, in terms of things, you obviously had a little bit of troubles in that first stint, lost the pack a little bit, come back to them. When you surge back up to that front sort of, that battle for third place, it nearly looked very, very much on the surface as if you could tell that entire group was saving. Talk us through that mindset, because you got to them very quickly, and then all of a sudden you went, I can't keep pressing on here. I've got to start saving, and it changes so quickly.
Yeah, it was just trying to make sure you didn't, like if you did make a small mistake or got a slowdown, cutting one of the chicanes, it was very much just trying to catch up without using too much fuel and then just sit behind again. And I was happy to sit behind. I knew I didn't have the ultimate pace of the two Merc boys out front, but as soon as I saw them start pushing, I sort of knew that they were going to be screwed on fuel. So I thought I just stayed with Adam the whole time and just kept saving because I knew he was probably in and around what I was going to be after the first stop. So yeah, just kept saving.
Mate, in terms of things, when did you know you sort of had enough fuel to start pressing on and really harassing Adam? Was it last lap? Was it a couple laps to go? You go, okay, I've got enough fuel in the bank now. We can press on.
My fuel calculator was literally flicking between red and green on the fuel numbers. So it sort of got to my mind that I sort of had to get in front of Adam and then just sort of slow him down enough that the number stayed green. And then once it got it green, it was pretty much last lap. So I knew it was good. So I sort of did what I wanted to do and got in front of him at the same time, because I think if we kept doing the pace we were doing, we're probably going to be about lap short.
Mate, it's a tricky night at the office, man. It's tense. Fuel-saving races look very, very boring on the outside, but how was the anxiety level in the cockpit as well?
I was literally talking to one of the guys in the server, and I was like, "Oh, this is probably going to look like a really boring race from outside, because it's literally no one passing anyone. Everyone's happy where they're sitting. If they're not, they'll make the move." So it was quite stressful at the end, just trying to make sure I just kept saving. Even though I saw the boys in front pull away, it was like, nah, just keep doing what I was doing. So I was happy in the end.
Mate, finally, you got the big W. You've taken all the chocolates on Easter weekend. Who are the sponsors you'd like to thank?
I'd like to Team Kamikaze, obviously. All their hard work doesn't go unnoticed. And spotlight.com.au. Shiftlight, not Spotlight. Shiftlight.com.au, sorry. They were on the side of the car tonight, so shout out to all those guys.
Give a free shout out to Spotlight.
Spotlight gets one too, yeah.
Mate, congratulations, and go off and celebrate. I guess there'll be a fair few celebrations this evening then.
Yes. Thank you, fellas. Very much appreciated, and I'll enjoy watching the stream back. So thanks for all your hard work too.
Mate, thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just about going to wrap us up in terms of things. We want to say a big shout out to Gamer Gear Direct and Print Racer, who have supported us like you wouldn't believe as things have kicked on over. That is it for another of the GT4 racing action. Join us next weekend when we'll be jumping back to Zolder Park once more to go live with the GT3 action. More cars in that one, more chaos could ensue, or perhaps more fuel saving. An extra hour? You'll only have to join us next weekend to find out exactly how that one is decided. Other than that, ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure chatting to you tonight. JP, any final comments on that one?
No, mate.
Tell me I've got the dates wrong.
No, I haven't got the date. I'm all gravy. No, everything's fine at the moment. I'm just wondering why all of a sudden I've got blank. But not blank in my own head. It's blank on the screen there. It's just gone black on me. But I'm not quite sure if the session's ended on that one. No, I'm all good. It was a slow race, and I think we were aware that was going to happen, and obviously with the fuel situation, that was always going to happen in general. But I think for what we got and how it turned out was great. I'd love to see Eli Donaldson, Jepson and Mayer the top three next time out as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. We hope you will join us again next weekend. Next weekend is when the time zones will switch over. So it will actually be next weekend that we move back to Australian Eastern Standard Time, instead of Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Bye for now, not forever. See you then.